Hey, what's up, everybody? Sean here with my personal fitness journey. We're at week 23, which, based off of my original plan for doing this fitness journey, it was intended to be how much I can change my body within my 6 month military deployment. And at 24 weeks coming up here, that's really coming to an end. It's roughly about 6 months at that point. However, last couple of weeks here are going to be pretty busy, focusing on getting out of here, getting prepared for the next rotation to come in. So we're going to actually end this next week with a lot of changes, a lot of progress, set some goals, met most of them. Some of them I didn't, some of them I probably still won't. But yeah, we'll talk more about that next week with the final recap. But this week we got the week 23 recap. So I can talk about the exercises, meals, even with those two things for this week based on the schedules, had some slight changes to the regular routine. All right. So still using that new routine. This was primarily focused on trying to make sure I can increase more weight for the 750-pound club, do the bench press, the squat, and the deadlift. Broke everything into arm day, leg day, and then middle all around body day. I did make some changes here because I realized about a week and a half ago that I'm definitely not going to hit that 750 pound. And it was really putting a lot of stress on my legs, my knees, especially. It was putting stress on my back, and my form in general was just all over the place. So I made some changes on some of the exercises. I'm still doing arm day, leg day, full body, finally with a cardio day at the very end on Saturday, but changing some of the exercises that I did, doing that alternate fasting where it's 24-hour fast, followed by eating regular breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, I did have a slight change here. Part of my schedule was completely jacked up right around Wednesday, Tuesday going into Wednesday. So I really didn't get to go to work out on Wednesday, shifted everything a little bit. Because I didn't really get to work out, I decided to actually use that as an additional fasting day in there. So I didn't eat any food on Wednesday. So we were down here on this rotation. So Monday I ate breakfast. Tuesday I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Technically, I actually only had breakfast and lunch on Tuesday, although I had basically all my calories for the day by lunchtime. Wednesday, I didn't eat anything at all, so I didn't have breakfast. So it amounted to essentially a 48-hour fast here from dinner on Tuesday to breakfast on Thursday. And then next week on Monday is the final weigh in for a biggest loser competition we're doing. So I decided this weekend doing an extended fast. So normally I would be doing the 48-hour fast, had breakfast on Friday morning, don't eat anything on Saturday, and then would normally eat breakfast again on Sunday, not eating breakfast on Sunday. So I won't eat breakfast again until Monday morning. So that's closer to a 72-hour fast at that point. Right, so what did it look like? Not a lot of progress going in. Again, this is really where I made that decision of I'm not making enough progress towards that 750-pound goal for the progress on the bench press and on the deadlift and squats. So I decided I'm going to shift to more sustainment. I'm also going to shift more to focusing on a little more weight loss, see if I can cut down that body fat percentage even further, maybe get a little bit more visibility on the ab muscles. But in general, Monday at least hit what everything I was doing before, but no significant gains moving forward with it. Calorie surplus there, about 400. A lot of it came in with some extra calories there in the grains. So I had a tortilla for a wrap for dinner, some rice thrown in there, but everything else fairly healthy with the good selection of vegetables, good selection of dairy, and high levels of protein. Did enjoy myself a little bit with a pecan pie, or as my wife likes to say, pecan pie. Always a fight in the household how it's pronounced, but I'm making the video, so I'm saying pecan. And yeah, other than that, it was pretty straightforward day. Tuesday, again, realized I wasn't going to make any progress. Last week, you see the gap in those bar chart there. That's the day I got sick. So I couldn't really go out and work out during leg day. So no progress there. Essentially had the same level of effort that I had the previous exercise before that. And this one, again, was on a Monday. So it was a breakfast only day, which is why you see that calorie delta of about 1300. That's even thrown in there with a whole bunch of healthy, unhealthy stuff like the French toast, some whipped cream, still had some fruit, had a little bit of V8s. But in general, at this point, since I wasn't focusing on trying to bulk up for the 750 pound club and just sustain, I didn't focus on overeating like I've been doing in the past for these breakfast only days. Day 3, Tuesday, was another run day. So ran a little bit slower. Previously, I did reach my goal of sub 11 minutes for the mile and a half. This day, again, was about a little bit slower. So 11 minutes, 50 seconds. Everything else was essentially the same, though. The last time I did these exercises on full body day, I'd started switching it up to do 2 sets of a lot of the exercises. That's why you see some of the spikes on those graphs there. Other than that, it was regular food day, Tuesday, taco day. So I had a breakfast burrito in the morning. I had some fiesta style fish and rice, Spanish rice at lunchtime. And with all that stuff, with the tortilla, I had some Swiss cheese on there. I really hit essentially my calorie goal for the day. My lunchtime came around, I was maybe 200, 300 short of it. So rather than having another dinner meal and going way over, I decided I'll just have my dessert and stuff, that carrot cake at lunch, eat it slightly more than I would normally would, and then just call it a day. Have a slightly longer fast, which worked out because the next day I actually did end up having a longer fast unintentionally, where I had issues because of what was going on operationally here. A lot of meetings, getting up in the middle of the night to take care of some stuff. Didn't sleep very well, so I decided not to go work out that day. One of the few days this rotation or the deployment I've done that. So I use it as a rest day. Along with that, since I wasn't going to be working out, I decided I wasn't going to be eating a lot of food. So I had a pretty extended fast going from lunch on Tuesday to breakfast on Thursday. Thursday, I did make a little bit of progress here. So this reason you see the jump in the bench press volume is because I previously was doing 3 sets. Actually, for the bench press, I think I was doing 2, where I was doing as much as I could with 6 reps, and then how many I can do with 3 reps. I switched it up a little bit to do a bit of a pyramid. So I started with some lighter weight, doing it faster with 10 reps. Then I would go up 10 pounds on each side, do the same thing, probably not as fast, but still got 10 reps out of it. Increased the weight a little bit more, was able to do about 6, pretty slow, and then added one last little bit of weight for 150 pounds for 3 reps. Then I went back down the ladder, did the 150 again, did the 135, 115, and then 95. Take a little bit more time in the routine, and it's still working the arm muscle. So I just cut out the iso lat where it's the 2 different arms working independently, and then just had the higher bench press to substitute for that. Everything else otherwise was essentially sustainment. Did end up with a slight calorie surplus for the day, which I try to do on these heavy days when I get 3 meals. Some of the surplus did come with some cheesecake dessert, but some of it is pretty good quality protein. We got some fish in there with some salmon, had some tuna, some refried beans, some catfish. So a lot of fish in there. Still getting a lot of vegetable, getting a lot of fruits. In general, pretty good spread of all the different categories of food, even having some grains in that day. So one thing you will notice there, normally that day that I skipped as a rest day would have been my arm day. So instead of just not doing arm day, I just shifted it one day to the right. So normally day 6 here would have been the run and then the full body workout. So instead, Thursday was the arm day. Friday ended up being the leg day. And I skipped that last run day, the full body, and kept cardio on Saturday. So the reason we improved here with squat and deadlift is because I did the same thing I did with the bench press, where I did a pyramid. So instead of just doing 135 twice and then bump it up to 185 and then 205, essentially I did 135, put on more weight, 185 to 205, and then back down. Overall, with the higher reps associated with those, it created a slightly higher volume for some of those. Leg press and lunges stayed the same. The overall weight, so in the past, I was saying I was pretty horrible form, but I was doing for the higher weights, I was about 245 pounds. Again, these are the weights that I was able to do and still keep proper form. Again, fairly high level of repetitions with those, but still, if you're going to do 245 pounds and it's barely going down for a squat, it really doesn't do anything for you. So it drops it down to lower weight, especially since I'm not going to get that 750-pound goal anyways. It was a breakfast only day. So as you saw in the previous slide, it was about 900 calorie deficit. That's including when I had some eggs in there, some Swiss cheese, threw in a bunch of fruits, some extra yogurt. It says 2 yogurts for that day, and I didn't mention it for the other days, but a lot of these mornings I've been getting up, I've been having a banana and a yogurt and some honey in the morning before I work out, just to give a little bit of energy, because I was getting drained before going to the exercise and not having anything to, no energy to actually do the exercise with. So I swapped that out and started having a little bit of pre-breakfast before going out and working out. And then finally, day 7, that was today, the cardio day. So doing the stair stepper and the run, sprints, kept it the same as what I did previously, mainly for sustainment. But as you can see there, because there's no food, burning a lot of calories doing that cardio, and then my still doing those 3 miles per night, even though I'm well past my 300-mile goal. So pretty significant calorie deficit. It's probably gonna be something similar on Sunday as well. Again, no fasting, and this is, instead of a traditional 48-hour fast that I'm doing, adding in an extra 24 hours by not eating on Sunday as well, but that's rolling into next week. All right, so where did that leave us? Looking at the results, I did lose a little bit of weight this week. No surprise there, especially with the amount of fasting and lower meals, not focusing on trying to get 2,000 plus calories in breakfast alone. So I did lose almost a pound, which puts me at an overall almost 33 pounds lost. I did actually, when I measured, lost about a half an inch, so 7 inches total in the last 6 months. Based off my calculation, I should have lost about 1.5 pounds for the calorie deficit, but pretty close there with a pound. I'm never going to figure out the actual logistics behind, or the calculations behind, what the actual weight loss is. If you look over on the left side there, we see the weight on about 16% body fat. So that's well on the right track. Last week it was closer to 17. Hoping to get it down in the next 2 to 3 weeks to 12 if possible. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but if I do a heavy focus on a little bit more of the fasting, I might be able to get there. I'm not going to record everything. Next week will be my final videos, as I mentioned, talking about the final results, but I'll still be here for a little bit and going to focus on the routine until I get home. But anyway, that's all I have here. Thanks for anybody who's watching. Feel free to leave something in the comments. Feel free to like, subscribe, and hopefully see you in my final video.